Hello and welcome to BETV. We have Guy Kawasaki, former Apple chief evangelist with us. Hi Guy, how are you?
Good afternoon.
So you have been in India for 2 days now, I think. When you look at innovation in India or from India, what are your expectations?
My expectations are that they try to create their entrepreneurs here. They increase their goals to create Indian ideas that Americans want to copy,
Okay.
as opposed to copying American ideas. That should be the goal. You have a large population, it's well educated, your economy is doing well. I mean, it's getting more difficult to immigrate to America. I mean,
True.
there's a lot of things that's working in your favor right now. You should seize the day. Seize the day.
So when you look at the startup ecosystem in India, within that, besides e-commerce, which is already a thriving category, which are the other categories do you think, or the sectors where startups can build up a very good sustainable business?
I can't comment on that because I'm
Sure.
I've been here 2 days.
Yeah, but given that you're saying we have seen a lot of American models being brought to India, but if Indians had to create or enter any sector within India, which are the ones that
Well, I mean, by definition, if I'm telling you to do that, I don't know what you should do, because
Okay.
if I knew what you should do, it would be an American idea.
Sure.
So, if we were to go back 5 years ago, why wasn't Airbnb or Uber invented in India?
Sure.
So why didn't you guys do Uber and you guys do Airbnb? And we're sitting in Silicon Valley saying, oh, that is a clever idea. So now people, who have homes are renting out their homes and rooms in India. Why don't we do that in America?
True. There haven't been many examples of that sort.
No.
True. But why do you think there haven't been? I mean, there isn't any dearth of talent.
It may be just tradition, historical past, that what I'm trying to get away from for India is we Americans, we shouldn't think of India as America's call center.
Sure.
Right? So, when you pick up the phone and you call Quicken or Microsoft for tech support, you're talking to someone in Bangalore.
True.
Because, your tech industry is to have
Back-end
Slumdog Millionaires,
operation,
right? I mean, that
True.
should not be the goal.
True.
It should be your goal that when someone calls for an Indian company for tech support, you're speaking to someone in America. That would be the goal.
Sure. Speaking of, you said the customer is the king always, and one should keep adapting to the needs of the customer, right? See, the US market, which other companies do you think have been able to do that incredibly well? And what are the learnings that we need to take home and try and adapt to that? Now, I'm not saying copy the idea, but learnings.
Yeah.
Learnings can adapt.
Well, the company, and I don't mean to be
Sure.
self-referential, but one of the few companies that have done it multiple times is
Sure.
Apple.
Yeah,
right?
true.
Because they created Apple I, Apple II. Now, there have been a few rough spots, right? Apple I, Apple II, Macintosh, iPod, iPhone, iPad. Well, those are like, 5 winners. Right?
True.
So how many companies have 5 winners? That's the model, to constantly be creating the next curve. It's a very difficult thing to do. I mean, it's hard enough to create one successful curve, much less 5.
Sure.
That's the challenge.
Sure.
And the way you do that is that you remember the business you're in. So, if you contrast, for example, a typewriter company versus Apple, or Kodak versus a digital camera company. Kodak and Polaroid and a digital camera company, they're all in the same business, preservation of memories.
True.
But if you think that you're preserving memories, then you embrace the next technology, which is digital photography. But if you think you're a chemicals company, putting chemicals on film or chemicals on paper, then you don't embrace digital photography because, quote, you're not in that business. You're in the business of chemicals.
Sure.
Therein lies the problem.
Sure.
So if you're a typewriter company and you believe you make mechanical devices that, put print on paper, then you die. But if you're a company that, fosters innovation and fosters computing and fosters communication, then you can transition from you can transition from typewriters to computers to whatever's next.
Sure. In India, I mean, any business that takes off, I think that could be a little bit of a global scenario also. You tend to give a lot of freebies, or sampling that we call, so that customers come and buy your product. But in India, what I've seen in the startup ecosystem, that sampling is in the form of, say, cashback, or say a voucher or coupon,
Yeah.
which actually makes the customer feel that every time I'll get a freebie. So for a sustainable business model for any tech company, what are your three main points that you want to give to these companies?
Well, every company is different, right? So obviously, if you're a computer company, you can't give a free computer every
Sure.
time or a free phone every
Sure.
time. On the other hand, I mean, in India, I heard this story that there's a carrier that gives, like, for $5 a month,
Yeah.
150 gigabytes of
Yes.
data.
Yes.
Oh my God, come to America. We need that. So, if you look at that, you probably say to yourself, that's not sustainable.
True. Not in the long term.
But I think one of the lessons of startups is when you are a startup, you do things that cannot scale. And you may not be able to scale where you go to a company and you install the computers and you provide training and support and all that. Because if you had to do that for everyone, how would you possibly sell millions of computers? You cannot go into millions of homes and millions of offices and do all the support, right? But as a startup, to get the first credibility, to get the sale, to get scale,
True.
to get your first 220 million customers, you do things that won't scale in the long run, and you figure it out.
If an Indian startup has to approach Guy Kawasaki, what would it take to do that?
Email.
That's it, and not an idea?
Oh, no, I mean, I'm not an active investor anymore.
Sure.
But it would have to be, what I don't want to hear is we have the Indian version of
True.
Instagram,
Okay.
right? It would have to be something I said, wow, that's a really clever idea.
Sure.
And, I'd look for proxies. I would look for who is involved in India. So it's the same way in Silicon Valley. I mean, who's involved in it. And yet, I will tell you, for all the rational and intelligent decision making I could tell you about, at the end of the day, it's just guessing. Because if you look at Apple, Steve and Woz, on paper,
Sure.
you wouldn't invest in them. Mark Zuckerberg,
Yeah.
you wouldn't invest in him. I mean, none of these people had world-class management teams with world-class systems, with world-class markets, none of that. It's two guys in a garage, two gals in a garage, guy and a gal in a garage. You'd have no idea. After the fact, when it is the next Google. If two people from India approach me and they create the next Google, okay, 5 years from now, I will tell you, I knew they would be successful.
One last question.
But that would be a lie.
Yeah, one last question. Any particular area in the tech space that actually interests you?
Any particular? I love social media.
Okay.
So I love social media, and I love the preservation of memories business or photography or that kind of thing. Yeah, that's my personal passions.
Sure. Thank you so much, Guy.
right.
Thank you for all your time.
My pleasure.